Live from Waterford and Dungarvan, this is Waterford at 1 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Eimear McKeown. Today's top stories. A man is before court in Waterford this afternoon in connection with a shooting before Christmas. 2019 was the worst year ever for overcrowding at University Hospital Waterford. Waterford Marine Search and Rescue says it experienced one of its busiest ever periods over the past fortnight. And in sport, Liverpool can extend their lead at the top of the league table with a win over Sheffield United tonight. A man in his 30s is before court in Waterford this afternoon in connection with a shooting before Christmas. A 44-year-old man was left in a critical condition following the incident outside a shop on the Carrickferris Road on Monday, December 23rd. It happened at 2:15 in the afternoon. Gavin Ryan from Mount Shore Apartments appeared before a special sitting of Waterford District Court last Friday, charged with possession of a firearm with intent to endanger life. He was remanded in custody and is back before the court today. The Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation is calling on the government to increase staffing and bed capacity in hospitals. Its end-of-year analysis shows University Hospital Waterford experienced its worst ever year for emergency department overcrowding. 6,319 patients were on trolleys during 2019, an increase of 46%. Nationally, 118,367 people were on trolleys during the year, 9% higher than in 2018. INMO General Secretary Phil Hay wants the recruitment ban lifted.
Any impediment to recruitment of frontline staff, and obviously nurses and midwives, are required to open all beds, and we want to expand our services into the community. We need to be focusing on expanding the numbers we employ in nursing and midwifery, both in hospital and in community. So any barriers that are in place need to be lifted.
A volunteer rescue group in Waterford City says it experienced one of its busiest ever periods over the past fortnight. Waterford Marine Search and Rescue carries out regular suicide prevention patrols as part of its work. Earlier this week, members helped rescue 2 people within 6 hours of each other from the river shore. Chairman Darryl Barry says people shouldn't be afraid to approach members who are out on patrol.
They can always approach any of our patrol teams. They can come on over. They can have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and with us, and they can have a chat. What we're basically saying is, come on over. People need to talk. And if people need help, we can do our best in relation to the agencies that we work with. We can put them in contact with some of the agencies as well. But really the main thing is that, we need people to start talking. There is help out there in all the areas. It's just about accessing it and knowing where to go to get the professional help, really.
18 people are now known to have died as mass evacuations get underway on Australia's east coast. Military ships and helicopters are rescuing tens of thousands of people who were trapped by wildfires. Sean O'Regan reports.
Residents and tourists are being told to leave Australia's east coast, with wildfires expected to get worse this weekend. The military is helping with evacuations in areas where electricity and water have been cut off. A tourist leave zone has been established in New South Wales, and some areas are seeing long queues for both food and petrol. Local Fire Commissioner Shane Fitzsimons says the forecast for Saturday is worrying.
Temperatures into the low to mid 40s, very hot, dry air coming out of the centre of Australia, and those wind strengths, particularly across the ranges, will be coming in at 40, 50, 60 kilometres an hour.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison says it's important to ensure emergency services have the support they need.
We cannot control the natural disaster, but what we can do is control our response. What we can do is support those who are out there.
4,000 people have been forced to shelter on a beach in the town of Malakuta, which has been plunged into complete darkness. Sherelle Williamson is one of those on that beach.
You can see in front of you, kids were petrified, even as older teenagers. We also had newborn babies with us and things that had to be taken away from the group. So, yeah, it was pretty terrifying.
The number of confirmed dead has risen to 18, with a similar number missing.
The Health Minister is facing fresh calls to introduce safe zones to protect women around buildings where terminations are carried out. A demonstration was held outside the National Maternity Hospital on Holles Street in Dublin yesterday, with many saying it's intimidating for women who are attending the facility. Simon Harris says meetings will take place this week to discuss introducing the buffer areas. Fine Gael Senator Catherine Noone says holding the demonstration is not appropriate.
In a way, we're playing into their hands by having this conversation this morning, because that's what they want. They want attention for their point of view, which, as I said, I respect. But how they feel that it is in any way appropriate to do so outside hospitals where women are going through a variety of different difficulties and joyous occasions is beyond me.
The registrar at Waterford Institute of Technology says the school holidays are the perfect time for parents and Leaving Cert students to talk about college courses. The 20th of January is early bird deadline for the CAO, with applications closing on February 1st. Dr. Derek O'Byrne says it's a great time to do some research.
Even though we are in the Christmas season, I think there's lots of online resources available to both students and to parents to do some research over this period. Of particular note, I think, is we have 2 workbooks published on our website at the moment, one designed specifically for students and one guide published for parents that gives a systematic way to work through what the students' interests and abilities might be and how they might use that to make better choices in the CAO cycle.
There were 117,100 new car registrations in Ireland last year, down 6.8% on 2018 figures. 3,444 new electric cars were registered in 2019 in comparison to 1,233 in 2018, according to the Society of the Irish Motor Industry. Eddie Fitzgerald of Dungarvan Nissan says it's an upward trend.
That's where it's going. The future is electric. We have the 100% electric Nissan Leaf. Beautiful car to drive. I drive it myself. Your house is your fuel stop. You don't really need the charge points, you know what I mean? The house, you just charge it at half price electricity every night. You have a full charge in the morning, off you go.
Talks have resumed in the north aimed at restoring devolved government. The DUP and Sinn Féin held separate meetings with the Northern Secretary of State this morning. Further bilateral meetings are expected to continue throughout the day. Meanwhile, there's a warning that loyalists could react with violence if they're pushed too far over a united Ireland. Senator Ian Marshall, the first unionist to be elected to the Seanad since the 1930s, says any further discussions on Irish unity need to be inclusive.
There's no question that if you force people or drive people under duress to a position, you could get an adverse reaction. It's a very small minority. However, I think the important thing to remember is the way you avoid that is by including everyone in a conversation and trying to have a conversation about unity, which says that if you can demonstrate that everyone will be better off, then you certainly will bring people around to that way of thinking.
WLR Sport.
And a very good afternoon, I'm Gavin, Whelan. Starting with soccer, and Liverpool can go back 13 points clear at the top of the Premier League with a win over Sheffield United at Anfield tonight. Their opponents are 8th after an impressive start to their season, their first season back in the top flight. Reds boss Jurgen Klopp has huge respect for United manager Chris Wilder's abilities.
Last year when he became manager of the year, and I just thought, Pep Guardiola won 4 or so titles, what did happen there? So, and I didn't watch Championship from time to time, but not that much in detail, and now I know why. So doing an incredible job there.
Kick-off on Merseyside is at 8. And meanwhile, Swansea could move into 6th spot on the Championship with a win at home to Charlton, while Wayne Rooney could make his derby debut when they face Barnsley. Joey Carberry will start his first game for Munster this season when they take on Ulster in Rugby's Guinness Pro 14 tomorrow. The out-half is joined by his Ireland teammate Conor Murray in the half-backs for the game at the Kingspan Stadium. Peter O'Mahony returns to captain the side from the back row, while there's a start for Keith Earls on the wing. Waterford's Jack O'Donoghue is also included in the Red Army starting lineup. Munster forwards coach Graham Rowntree knows it'll be difficult to get a win in Belfast.
It's another one of these historic grounds, isn't it, Raymond Hill? I mean, it's been developed, but for me as a player, as I often convey this to our boys, you know, nights like that away from home is why you play the game. You know, those experiences, that's what you pass on to your kids, and you're telling stories, but no, we're ready for it.
Next to just staying with news of rugby and on the Ulster front, Ireland internationals Ian Henderson and Jacob Stockdale both back in their lineup. A hand injury is likely to rule Quinn Rowe out of the Six Nations. The Connacht lock, who has been capped 12 times, linked up with Andy Farrell's Ireland squad at Christmas. Gaelic Games and the Waterford footballers play their first competitive game of the 2020 season this evening in the McGrath Cup. They welcome Munster rivals Limerick to Fairfield for the pre-season action. Throw-in there is at 7:30. We'll have updates across the evening here on WLR. Tyrone's Colin McShane is on the verge of making the move to the AFL. The All-Star forward and last summer's championship joint top scorer is close to agreeing a 2-year deal with the Brisbane Lions. Dubliner James Madden is already part of the Lions squad. Peter Wright has moved up from 7th to 2nd on the new PDC World Darts rankings after landing his maiden world title last night. The 2017 UK Open winner, who had lost his 3 previous major finals, dominated the decider at the Alexandra Palace last night, defeating reigning champion Michael van Gerwen by 7-3. And in racing, Davy Russell is hoping to be back on the saddle this weekend. The Grand National winning jockey injured his ankle in a fall at Fairyhouse yesterday. Scans have shown no broken bones, and Russell says he's aiming to return to action in the next few days. Russell, of course, was a special guest at the Park Hotel Waterford Supreme Sports Star Awards last weekend, and you can catch a full interview with Davy coming up on our On The Ball Sports show on Saturday just after 12 noon. That's the latest on WLR. More at